All right, let's look at some more examples for rotations here. So a rotation 180 degrees. Now these are the ones that you're going to have to really think about. These rotations are the ones that you're really going to have to pay attention to the math on it and how the rules for it works. Because lots of these, that is the easiest way to do them is with the math. So we're going to really focus on that. You're going to need to have that little table that we've talked about before, that one right there. Okay, that is a important table at this point. So let's look. Rotation 180 degrees. If you look on that table, it tells you the rule for a rotation 180 degrees is xy to negative x, negative y, or the opposite x, opposite y. Okay, those are very important that you remember them. So let's look at P. P is 1, 4. P prime would be negative 1, negative 4. Easy enough. R, where's that K? K is 3, 0. K prime would be negative 3, 0. N is negative 1, negative 2. N prime is not negative 1, negative 2. The opposite, so it would be 1, 2. And F is negative 4, 2. So F prime is 4, negative 2. So those are going to be my new points. Okay, 180 degrees, we've talked about the degrees in terms of kind of clicks before it, with each click being 90 degrees. Okay, 180 degrees is going to make it go from there to there's 90 to there's 180. So that's what my shape's going to end up looking like, except my paper's going to be facing this direction. So let's plot these new points. P prime, negative 1, negative 4. K prime, negative 3, 0. N prime, 1, 2. And F prime, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, negative 2. So we connect these. You get this little shape like this, and that is a 180 degree rotation. Okay, we're going to skip number 2. We're going to go to number 3. The reason we're skipping number 2 is because it's the exact same. It's a rotation 180 degrees. Okay, number 3, a rotation 90 degrees counterclockwise. 90 degrees counterclockwise. That is very important, the direction we're going. Remember, this way is clockwise. This way is counterclockwise. Okay, you're picturing it like a clock. That's 12, 3, 6, 9. Clockwise is the way a clock goes. Counterclockwise is backwards. So if we want 90 degrees counterclockwise, that's going to go from here this direction. We're going to rotate it that way, which means it's going to end up being right in here somewhere. Okay, so let's look at that. You got X, Y, and the rule, again, looking at our handy-dandy table here, says xy to negative y, x. Yes, negative y. Your y is going to become your first coordinate here. It's still going to be plotted as if it was your x. But whatever was your y there is going to become your new x, and you're going to make it the opposite when it goes counterclockwise. So let's look at that. X, y to negative y, x. Okay, let's look at B here. B is negative 4, 1. B prime. Okay, remember, I've got my x and my y here. I need my y first, so the 1's going to come first, and it's going to be the opposite. It's going to be the opposite of 1, which is negative 1. And then your x comes second. Now, when I go to plot that, I still plot that as if it was my x and my y. X prime, y prime, basically. Okay, so when I plot it, I'm going to plot it as negative 1, negative 4 right here. Because this is a coordinate pair, but on the algebra side, on the math side, those flip-flop places. So it's very important you understand that. X here is negative 3, negative 2. So x prime is going to go from negative 3, negative 2. Our 2 is going to come first, and we're going to go to the opposite. And then we're going to keep our x. It's going to be 2, negative 3. 2, negative 3 there. That's x prime. And then you have n. N, the last one here, is negative 5, negative 4. N prime is going to be 4, negative 5. 4, negative 5. Or negative 5. And that is what your shape should look like. Okay, it's very easy to just look at these and figure it out. If you know this quadrant is plus plus, this quadrant is negative plus, this is negative negative, and this is positive negative. So we know B right here was in quadrant 2 to start with because it's negative positive. If we go 90 degrees counterclockwise, that's always going to put it in quadrant 3. Quadrant 3 is negative negative. So you make your signs negative negative. Then all you have to remember is when you go 90 degrees, your x and y flip-flop. Okay, so there are a couple of different ways to remember that. You can memorize the rules, or you can memorize the signs for each quadrant and go based on that. Either of those is a fine option and will give you the right answer. Let's look at a 90-degree clockwise rotation. 90 degrees clockwise. 90 degrees clockwise, our rule, x, y, 2, 90 degrees clockwise is y, negative x. Y, negative x. So we take any of these points to start with. We'll start with y, start at the top here, is 4, 3. Y prime is 3, negative 4. Okay, I'll show you the other way we could do this. K, right here, K is in quadrant 1. Quadrant 1 is positive, positive. If we go clockwise, that's going to be this way. It's going to put us down here, positive, negative. So I know right then that K prime is going to be positive and then negative. A positive and an opposite. So if K is 5, 3, then it's going to be 3, then 5, and I've got to make it match these symbols right here. That has to be a negative. If I did it the other way, I would still see the opposite x, and that does work out. So if we take B being on the axis like that, makes it a little bit easier for us because that puts a 0 in the equation. 5, 0 is going to change B prime. 0 is going to come first, and then your 5. That's actually going to put it down here. B prime. 90 degrees clockwise. And the last one, U starts off positive, negative. So 90 degrees is going to put it in quadrant 3. So U prime, I know immediately, is going to be negative, negative. That's the only way it can be in quadrant 3, is if it's negative, negative. So U was 2, negative 2. So whenever I put it over here in this quadrant, it's still going to be 2, negative 2, negative 2. And that's what's going to make it be where I need it to be over there. Okay, you could also do it this way up here. Your x is going to change to the opposite, which is what happened right there. Our y stayed the same right there. So that is 90-degree clockwise rotations. Now, the one that gets people is this one here. You don't see it real often, a 270-degree clockwise rotation. Now, if I take my pen here and I rotate it 270 degrees clockwise, that's going to put my pen right there. Now, how else could I have gotten my pen from here to facing straight up? I could have gone 90 degrees the other direction. So, from here, 270 clockwise is the same thing as 90 degrees counterclockwise. And that's the rule that you have. If you look on your little rule sheet, you don't have a rule for 270 degrees. Your rules are 90 and 180. So we know 270 clockwise is going to be the same thing as 90 degrees counterclockwise. And same thing on number 6. Imagine this is counterclockwise to start with. Okay, that would be the same thing as 90 degrees clockwise. Those are the same forever and for always. Okay, you can stand up at your desk and do that if you'd like, and just to prove it to yourself. If you spend 3/4 of the way around one way, you'll be facing the same as you spend 1/4 of the way around the opposite direction. It's just how it all works out. So let's look at these last 2 examples real quick. We're going to go from XY, 270 clockwise is going to be 90 degrees counterclockwise. 90 counterclockwise is negative yx, negative yx. So we are going to take v here. V is 4, negative 1, changes to 1, 4. K is at 2, negative 4. It's going to change to 4, 2. And J is at negative 1, negative 2. It's going to change to, this time our Y is going to go the opposite, and our X is going to stay negative. So those would be your new points for that one. And 270 counterclockwise is the same thing as 90 clockwise. 90 clockwise is y negative x. Y negative x. So we have k at negative 1, negative 1 goes to negative 1, 1. P at 0, negative 1 goes to 1, no, or y stays the same. We're going that direction. And then T is at 3, negative 2. So our y is going to change. Our x stays the same. And Q is 0, negative 4. Our y stays the same, and our x changes. So those should be your new coordinates for that. You're free to go ahead and get started on the worksheet now. Let me know if you have any questions.